So I said the Chris Paul thing was the first rumor of this offseason. I guess this one might have been the actual first one. The Knicks and the Clippers potentially interested in Westbrook. This came from Kevin O'Connor. Westbrook was still really, really good before the big break and all that stuff. So there's a chance that going into the next season, Russ could be awesome, and that might be better than any alternative for the Rockets, but they might look at themselves as stuck. I mean, they do still have a couple of picks they could move if they wanted to shuffle some things around, but there's also reason to just want to hold on to those picks in case things get bad for them over the next couple of years. And I don't really think Covington and Gordon and PJ Tucker and those guys are really trade assets, and you're not going to move Harden, so Westbrook would be the guy if they were just so determined to make a trade. And when you think about it specifically for the Clippers and the Knicks, it does get a little tough. I mean, for the Clippers' sake, as we know, their draft pick situation, not exactly one that allows them to move picks. They do have some players, though. I think the heart of a... Actually, let me back up. Would the Clippers and the Rockets help each other out like this? Because there's a decent chance they'll just meet in the playoffs. And for Houston's sake, it's like, do you want to run into Westbrook in a round 2 series? For the Clippers' sake, it's, do you want to give the Rockets a bunch of guys that they would want who can help them on defense and stuff? So anyway, if we think about it first for the Clippers, we'll get to the Knicks eventually, but if we think about it for the Clippers' sake, the heart of it would be a Montrez sign and trade. You give him about $15 million or so a year. I feel like Beverly would be the next guy in the move. Or maybe Beverly would just be in there no matter what the move is. Maybe the Rockets would really want Zubats. I guess that's a possibility. But whatever combination of guys you want to do, whether it's a Montrez sign and trade, Zubats, Pat Bev, maybe it's Lou Will, JaMychal Green. I imagine the Rockets would really want Landry Shamet in a move like this one as well. It results in the Rockets going from being top-heavy to James Harden and more guys who can hopefully make open shots, hopefully defend, hopefully do something off the dribble. And I'm just not sure if that really makes Houston better. Now, if a third team was involved here, then maybe that's the way that the Rockets could get a really good return for Westbrook. If you start sending players in all different places and the Rockets get most of the good complementary players out of that move. But I still don't know. Maybe I'm just being too nice to Westbrook. Of course, he didn't look awesome by the time the playoffs were over. But he had the quad thing. He tested positive for the thing that YouTube might demonetize me for, of course. So that's a tough one. But as far as what the Clippers have to offer, I don't know if there's anything there that just really, really makes the Rockets that much better, or better at all. And given the age of Harden, I feel like that's the main thing they're going to focus on. I don't know if the Rockets would really make a move to just get out of Westbrook's money with Harden there right now. So anyway, we move on to the Knicks. I mean, Julius Randle would be the start of the trade. And because the Knicks are under the salary cap, because it didn't change, it's still going to be $109 million this year. That could technically be it. You want to do Julius Randle for Westbrook? I don't know if anything really gets accomplished on Houston's side. But you go down the rest of the roster, and I just don't think there's a lot of guys here that the Rockets would really be interested in. The Knicks, of course, do have the draft picks. They got the Clippers picks, they got the Mavs picks, and maybe Houston would view that as enough because then they could put those picks together with whatever else and then trade those for players, and maybe there's a pathway that they see in which it leads to a team that's better than the one they have right now. I guess to bring up the 3-team trade thing again, it might be a little easier to imagine for the Knicks. I mean, I guess for the Clippers, the idea could be maybe Shamet is ending up on a third team or something to satisfy them, and then that team is giving stuff to the Rockets or whatever, and then Westbrook's going to the Clippers. And I guess for the Knicks, kind of similar, but it's more draft picks moving around. As far as how many picks the Knicks would really want to move, I don't know, but I guess that could be the template where it's Westbrook to the Knicks send Randle to Houston. I'm assuming it's Randle, it could be somebody else, but he's just the obvious one in my opinion. And then draft picks to third team from the Knicks, and then third team sends stuff to Houston. And perhaps that third team would want Bobby Portis or Elfrid Payton or whoever. Now, of course, the Knicks have 9 million team options, and depending on if they decline all of them, which I kind of feel like they're going to, then even with trading for Westbrook, I think they would still have quite a bit of money to do something in free agency. And if you're going to trade for Westbrook, then of course you're going to want shooting. Should be said, Westbrook and Tom Thibodeau, that could be dicey. As for why the Knicks would do this, so I think the idea would be, you trade for Westbrook, everybody on Twitter's like, oh my god, this is dumb, they could end up being right. But the idea is you raise your status in the league, you go from bad to hopefully 40-something wins, and you could afford Westbrook, RJ Barrett, a $20 million free agent this offseason, and you could still have cap space for next free agency. So then some good free agent wants to sign with the Knicks, and now you got that guy with Westbrook, and let's say they also signed whoever they end up signing this offseason, if we want to be optimistic. And then RJ Barrett's getting better, and other draft picks getting better, and there you go, you got something going on. The way this would not work out is if Westbrook would stunt the growth of RJ Barrett, potentially whoever they would draft this offseason as well. Thibodeau doesn't like the place. Bunch of bad rumors coming out, passive aggressiveness all over the place. You win 32 games and nobody wants to sign there. So I guess that's my take on this Westbrook Clippers Knicks rumor. Did I really go into the basketball stuff with the Clippers? I mean, to be honest, I don't really think... If one of these ends up happening, I think it's a better chance for the Knicks, just because I really don't think the Rockets would just trade Russell Westbrook to a team that they could very easily run into in the postseason, unless it would be a Jedi mind trick sort of thing where they don't fear Westbrook in a playoff series. And if you want to go down that route, then by all means have at it. But as far as the basketball, I mean, he would be the best passer on the Clippers. It's also Russell Westbrook, so he likes to shoot the ball a whole lot. I'll tell you this, if Phoenix ends up trading for Chris Paul, I think the Clippers should consider making a run at Ricky Rubio. I think he would be the ideal type of point guard for them. Yeah, you can leave him open sometimes, that's fair, but the Clippers, they need somebody to just help them out a little bit with that playmaking, and it might be better if that guy doesn't also want to shoot 20 times a game or whatever Westbrook shoots. I think those rumors we've heard of Rondo being linked to the Clippers, it's the right idea. The fear is that they might have to deal with regular season Rondo, who is not good. So I don't know what to make of all that. So that'll do it for me on this one. I keep on giving the Knicks a stronger chance to make a move than a lot of teams, because they got the draft picks, and when you got those, you can facilitate 3-team deals a lot more, whereas the Clippers, they don't have picks. They just straight up don't. So, yeah.